Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy adaptation games, and may the odds be ever in your favor. I'm Kels.
And I'm Ash.
And we are the Adaptation Games, a Hunger Games podcast where we break down the Hunger Games films beat by beat and analyze them along with the books to understand themes, characters, and to determine just how good an adaptation these movies are. And now that we're in the arena, I feel like we're moving so much faster than we were prior.
What's happening?
We're already getting to like the career confrontation and all this other. We're about to get Rue. So much is going on.
We set up the backstory and now we're just running full speed.
Yeah,
at the conclusion.
We're essentially just like in the action,
yes,
nonstop until the very end now. So it's
not at all.
It's gonna be fun moving forward. Our episodes won't be nearly as long. I went back and I was listening to some of the early episodes because I was like pulling stuff from them. And
yeah.
There was a lot to cover. We were doing a lot in those first couple of episodes.
I do love that there was a lot to cover, and also we didn't know what we were doing. Not that we do now, but yeah, just made it even longer.
Yeah. We're getting there though. We're getting there. I think we've got some good flow going on.
I think we're good.
Yeah, we're recording a bunch of these back to back, so I don't think we have too many life updates. We'll be able to talk about the fact that the Odyssey is coming out, but
yes, that will be a conversation. But
yeah,
I have a very important announcement.
Oh, what is your announcement?
Our listening viewers, I will quickly describe this, but first I'm going to show it on video.
I love it. Is this Ariel?
This is Ariel. So for our listeners, I built my first ever Gundam. It's Ariel from Witch of Mercury, a series I picked up because I'm trying to learn Japanese, and so I was like, oh, this is fun. People recommended it. Turns out, bad series to learn Japanese too.
No. I could have told you that if that was the reasoning. I understood.
Yeah, but I love the series, and so I bought a little. This is high grade, not master grade, so I kind of want to get the master grade. I had a really fun time putting this together.
I don't have a picture, and I don't know if you've been in my roommate's room since the Gundam craze began. I mean, my roommate's always been obsessed with the Gundam stuff, but the pile of the amount of Gundams that have both been built that are on the shelves and then unbuilt.
Oh no.
That are just in this house. You have to come visit.
Oh no.
Every time we play D&D, you know that's what she's doing. Is she's building a Gundam. Like at her desk every time we play.
Oh my god, that's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very happy for you. Congrats on finishing your first one.
I know. I don't feel like this is going to become a big thing for me because I don't really know what to do with it now. So I don't think I'm going to collect a lot of them, but I do want to get the master grade Ariel and put that together. And that might be it for a while. I'm not a big person of building. Like when I used to play with Legos as a kid, I was all about the story. My brother would build things and I would make stories about them. And so this is like, well, it was fun to build, but it already has a story, so I can just
right, nothing to make up.
Oh,
you can't see all of mine that are up here, but this is the one that you got me, right? Overwatch.
Yeah.
And then I have my space shuttle, my NASA space shuttle, since I'm wearing my NASA shirt today.
Love NASA.
But if you want a good show to watch to learn Japanese, this is the one to watch, my boy, Bash. This is the Trigun Stampede.
For our dear listeners, I have a different view of Kelsey's camera than you do. It's pure blackness.
Here, I'll pull him forward so you can see him in all his glory.
Oh, fun! What's he from?
I just got my Blu-ray special edition of him. It's Trigun Stampede, so this is the remake of the 90s anime. There's his arm, so that. See, now it's at a weird angle in my camera because I'm trying to show it to the bad camera over here.
Yeah, the first few episodes that we were filming this, Kelsey looked like she was just in like a pit.
Yeah,
I could barely see her face, let alone anything.
I don't know why the camera on my computer is so horrendously bad because I've had other computers with built-in cameras and like they can absorb light. I don't know what's. I'm not going to complain. This is a free laptop that somebody gifted me. Luckily, when I left my last job, so I have no complaints from me. But I've been too cheap to buy a proper webcam. So this
That's
is what you
okay.
get. One day maybe.
One day.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyways, we'll talk more anime at some point in our
Yeah.
future. Witch Hat. I just went to Anime Expo. Clearly, we're into it.
I
But
mean, you're into it. I struggle with
we're getting
anime.
you more into it. My roommate pulled me in. It's your turn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh well.
She needs somebody new to target because she's sick of me not watching the stuff she wants me to watch. So she just harasses you now.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, I love it. Witch Hat, or not Witch Hat, Witch of Mercury is a very complicated, very odd story, but also about kids going to war. So at least it's relevant, sort of, to the
Yeah.
Hunger Games.
Oh, it's like, what if the capital's children were also trying to take over their business? It's probably like what's happening in the capital, but behind the scenes.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
And it doesn't really discuss the districts at all, except for like Earth is like the districts, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. But speaking of, we're hopping back into the Hunger Games because, again, we're going to be moving so quickly now. Like, we basically just had the Tracker Jacker scene where she drops them and Glimmer is dead, and PETA runs up into her face and is like, "Run! Why are you still here? Move!" I do love Josh Hutcherson delivers these lines so well. Like, as in, like, what? I don't understand why you don't understand what's going on. Like, get a move on, Katniss, you know?
She's just sitting there, like, just staring.
Yeah. Yeah. And then in the book, Kato is chasing him, so he doesn't have this time to like stop and like scream at her more. But in the movie we don't see Kato chasing him. We just see the three run up, and then we see Katniss. It's like her just in her timey-wimey, just weird like lens effects happening as she's walking
Yeah.
around. And we see how big the sting is on her hand, right? It's like huge. It like takes up her whole hand. Like it's like a huge giant bump. And I'm like, oh God, that must be so painful. We were talking about our mosquito bites the other day, and I was like, imagine. Imagine it got that bad.
Imagine it was
Horrendous.
that, and then you were just like tripping balls.
Yeah. Have you ever been stung by a wasp?
I've sat on a bee, but I don't think I've been stung by a wasp.
Because I hear it's so much worse with wasps, and we have so many
Ooh.
wasp nests here, actually, like in the community that we're in. And so sometimes we're walking, and Mochi will just walk right up to one and like start sniffing it. And I'm like, if you get that thing up your nose, you're gonna die. I need you to please stop. And then I get scared because then it'll fly around all angry, and I'm like, now it's gonna sting me because you were sniffing this wasp. I need you to back up. So I'm terrified of it, triply so now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. But after we see that, we get Caesar Flickerman just walking through the woods. He's just there, hanging out with Katniss. But he basically is just reiterating they can produce powerful hallucinations. And it's really just a reminder to us, the audience, like, this is what's happening to her right now, right? She's having hallucinations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also adore his very sinister smile.
Oh my God. Terrifying. I'm like, please
Those
don't look
teeth
at me
are too
like
white.
that.
Scary.
Exactly. He has the most insane veneers. It's crazy. But then we really cut into what I think is such a great scene. It's going to be about 70 seconds long. It's not long at all, but we are essentially going to get confirmation or even new information about Katniss in this amount of time that the book has basically been spending this whole time building up and like telling us these things, right?
Yeah, we got this in like chapter 1 or 2
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah. Like she constantly talked about it for like the first 6 chapters of the book, essentially. And we're all the way, what are we at now? 15, 14 is where we're talking about 15 right now, right? And
Yes.
so we get a shot of Katniss's home, or a home with a fireplace, right? And on the fireplace there's a picture, and this is Katniss's dad, right? And we're gonna get a bunch of quick cuts in pretty fast succession here, where it's gonna cut to that, and then it's gonna cut to miners walking through District 12. It's basically like mirroring one of the earlier shots we got in the film when we first are establishing District 12, but there's way more people, like way more miners this time around. Um, and then like we're getting zoom ins on his photo and then cutting over to the miners again. And then we get the cuts of them piling into the elevator, right? And the elevator goes down, and then there's a huge explosion that then explodes out of the mine shaft and destroys the house along with it. And then we get a reverse effect that after the house has been destroyed, they reverse it and it rebuilds itself into the same house. And it's all set to this great score of the sad strings, because we're really back to like these natural sounds and all of this other stuff that has really like taken over the scene. And then we can't hear any of the dialogue yet, but we get Katniss in her arena outfit. This isn't like a younger version of Katniss, right? It's her kneeling down at her mom's feet, yelling at her, but you can't hear what she's saying, but she's mouthing it so perfectly that you can see exactly what she's saying, right? Which is like, Mom, don't just sit there, say something. And you get the distorted camera view of Prim, who looks younger. She's sitting off on the side. And then Katniss's voice fades in, which is always interesting. Usually when you think of sound, it's usually like fading out in scenes like these, but she fades into the scene and we hear her screaming, and Jennifer Lawrence is just so good in this whole moment. And she's looking directly at her mom, which is obviously a huge contrast to how we saw her actually interacting with her mom at the beginning of the movie. And then when her mom finally responds, she puts her hand on Katniss's face, and it's Peeta's voice. Peeta telling her to run to save her, um, which I think is just great. Like, the moment that her mom finally wakes up is also the moment that Peeta is saving her in this hallucination. And then all the music cuts out, and we see her basically in the corner of the frame. She's not centered at all, laying in the woods. But yeah, I think that this is just the perfect show don't tell backstory for Katniss scene.
Yeah, they like you can pretty easily misinterpret this, but because they don't tell you anything, but I think it's so
Right.
clear, like, you see that relationship of her, like, screaming at her mom, you see the house destroyed and then put back together, but it still feels broken. It's
Yeah,
very
and
cool.
it's so interestingly done. And I've never seen anybody like really not understand what it's saying, as
Yeah.
because they established so much in the beginning that Katniss doesn't trust her mom because her mom basically abandoned them for a while. Even if we didn't get as much detail or in as many words in the movie, like we do in the book, we most people can still immediately connect, like, oh, this is what happened. Like, she really wasn't helping them, and it was, oh, her dad died.
Yeah, this is, Katniss when she was leaving District 12, had that brief, like, goodbye with Mom and Peeta, or not not Mom and Peeta, Mom and Prim.
Mhm.
This is, like, her saying, like, "Oh, don't shut down again," and we get to see her mom shut down. We get to
Yeah.
see that moment. I did find it very interesting that the shots of the miners, like, yes, it zooms in on the picture, but the actual shot of the miners doesn't zoom in specifically on Katniss's dad. It's kind
Yeah.
of like he's a part of a crowd. He's sort of just a faceless guy in a crowd of a bunch of people. So this was an accident that hurt, I think, what is it, at least a dozen families?
Yeah, probably more than that. It looked like probably more than a dozen people.
Yeah.
Probably 2 dozen.
Yeah, so it really
Closer.
emphasized, like, the community destruction of that. Like, for us as the viewers, it's
Right.
specifically Katniss's dad, but the way that it's shot also emphasizes that this was, like, a rather significant. I think it makes the explosion more significant.
Yeah, and I think it's, like, so good to take us into the actual mine shaft and, like, see the elevator and stuff, because like, people forget how dangerous mining really is still to this day,
Yeah.
right? Like, it is a very dangerous profession, and I think just seeing those shots of the hall essentially to get down there is just like kind of reminiscent of some of the other hall shots that we've been getting. Katniss walking down the hall to get to the launch tube or like whatever. Um, and also for anybody who might not know, right? Like to me, it always invokes the feeling of the canary in the coal mine. Like even if we don't actually see a canary, because basically they would take birds in because if the bird stops singing, you know that there's probably like a gas leak or something is happening because the bird will die first. So that's like essentially what that is, and because that's going to be Katniss, like that's what she represents a lot in the books, especially when we get to Mockingjay. Like at the end, when she like starts singing again, and they're making all these comparisons to Canary in the coal mines of her. They have what's her name, Wyrus in Catching Fire. She refers to her as their canary in the coal mine because she dies when the careers sneak up on them first. She stops singing. She's singing while she's in the water. So like there's all these connections to that. So even though we don't physically see that in this moment, just seeing like that mine shaft, and then there's like there's a moment, a pause before the explosion, like a moment of peace almost before the explosion happens, and that's what it always makes me think of.
Yeah. Yeah, that moment to me feels like the piece, like that brief pause is when you think it's just gonna be normal, like it's gonna be fine. Like, oh, they're just going down and then oh, okay.
Right.
Um
And it's like we're never going to get the information that Gale's dad, this is also where his dad dies. Um because it's like not super relevant to anything. But at least not in the film, but it is
yeah,
how him and Katniss end up in essentially the same situation.
yes.
Yeah. And I think I've mentioned this to you now, but I saw this person on TikTok, Megan Talks is her name if anybody wants to follow her, but she was talking about how um there's people who talk about the fact that there's potential that this mining accident wasn't necessarily an accident. Because what we learned later is that Gale, who's now 18 and is currently working in the mines while Katniss is here in the arena, like in Catching Fire and things like that, they are using the fact that the mines are loud and it is hard for the capital to spy on them to start planning rebellion. Um, and so there's a theory that potentially the mining accident wasn't really an accident and that these men were all organizing. And so they set off the explosion themselves, potentially at the Capitol, which I think is an interesting thought, right?
Yeah, I could see it. I
Especially knowing
mean,
Katniss's dad.
yes, that's what yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like he's out there already doing breaking the law with just hunting and being in the woods
Mhm.
that often. So I don't think it's not a leap, too much of a leap to think that he'd be a part of some sort of rebellion.
Yeah. And especially because you'll learn more, the slight sunrise on the reaping spoiler, right? But he is um, Covey, right? So he's very connected to the Covey. And they themselves, just their existence is kind of rebellious in nature, at least, especially in Snow's eyes. They are. Their ability to survive really pisses him off in many ways.
Yes.
So the theory then is also potentially that Prim is then reaped as a continuing punishment for Astrid, Katniss's mom, who knows? She could have also been involved. She leaves her home in the town to come to the seam. She offers people medicinal services. Like she already is essentially doing all this stuff for the community. It would make sense if maybe she was also involved in some way. Um, I think it's an interesting theory. They skip over Katniss, I guess, in that punishment scheme. Um, but also Prim was younger and more innocent, so maybe they were just waiting for her to get old enough, you know.
Yeah, I kind of doubt that personally, just because if that was the case, then why is Katniss able to go under the fence? Like if they're
Yeah,
watching her mom closely enough, then they would know that Katniss is jumping under the fence, which I guess they do because she does bring them like meat.
right. And we'll get this a lot in this chapter where she's talking about how, man, District 12 was like a safe haven compared to District 11
Yes.
because they would buy stuff from us, because I could have gone through all these punishments that the people in District 11 go through, but I don't because they buy these resources from me.
Yeah, because they benefit.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's an interesting theory, especially compared to some of the other Prim was reaped to sort of punish Katniss theories, which I've never really believed, or if they're rigging them just to like pick a 12-year-old. There were already 2 other 12-year-olds that got reaped that year. Don't necessarily see why you need a third. If anything,
Yeah.
I think having more than 2 12-year-olds chosen for the reaping is going to make the games more boring, right?
Yeah,
If you're looking at it from they die pretty quick. Like Rue making it this long is an outlier, I feel like. Yeah. I could see Rue being reaped on purpose because she's the oldest of a very big family, and like they're like, okay, set her as an example. Like I think I could see that more than them going for like Prim if they were gonna
I
do
could
that
see
and
it.
set up 12-year-olds, but yeah. I'm still not a huge believer in it, so
No.
but I thought it
I
was
think the
interesting.
Capitol is just cruel in the way that it functions, and sometimes the cruelty happens to go your way.
I think for me too, it's the idea that they would then have to see them as individuals with individual lives to care enough to do that. And the
Yeah.
only time they're going to care enough to do that is the stuff that Katniss talks about, which is that like they can't always be random because too many victors' kids get reaped for it to be a coincidence. And it's like, yeah, but at that point you're already built into the storyline of the Capitol, so they care about you.
100%. Yeah.
But outside of that, I don't think they care enough about whatever life you're living to be like, here's this,
No.
here are these things that we'll do to punish you more.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But who's to say? Snow's
But
a
who's
tricky
to
guy.
say? This is true. This is true. But speaking of, now we're gonna get sweet baby girl Rue. Love her. Ugh. It's making me sad because we're getting so close to her death. And I'm like, I'm not ready emotionally
I
to
didn't
get there.
realize how little time she has in the movie.
I know, it's really so little. It's
So
literally just
little.
as like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that.
And she's not even in it for the whole thing.
No.
So anyways, we cut back to Katniss outside of her hallucination. She wakes up, her hands are covered in leaves. She sees her bow and arrow. It's interesting because in the book she wakes up alone. And she's thinking a lot about Gale and Peeta. She's like, I wonder what Gale made of the incident for a moment, and then I pushed the whole thing out of my mind because for some reason, Gale and Peeta do not coexist well in my thoughts. And you're like, okay, girl, I love that Rue is about to clock you in like a minute when you talk to her. And she's gonna be like, I think you like him. Also, I definitely think he's in love with you. And it's like, Katniss,
Yeah, she's like,
I feel like you should be able to see that.
No, she's in it. She
Yeah.
can't even see like her relationship with Gale, so
Yeah. But I think it's interesting that she's like alone the whole day. Like she doesn't see Rue. She goes out and she like shoots the bow and arrow to test it and like makes herself dinner and like all of this other stuff. Whereas in the movie, we're essentially gonna get Katniss wakes up and immediately we get like this first person POV shot of Rue looking around the tree at Katniss and then hiding again. And then Katniss is like, oh, she's over there. So I love that she picks up the bow and arrow to go over there. Like, as if that's not incredibly intimidating that you brought only your weapon over to come interact with her, Katniss.
Yes. Hello.
But she peeks around and she calls out her name first, which I think is so important to like humanize her and all this other stuff. We've talked so much about how important names are. Rue again is a flower. So it's all connected. And I feel like every time we talk about names, I'm the Charlie meme, where he has a little red string in the background. And I'm like, the names, like every time. But they're important.
Yes. Look, Suzanne Collins was not trying to be around the bush with the names.
Oh, no. She's like, I will slap you in the face with them 20 times over till you get the point. But yeah, she speaks so quietly and so softly and so sweetly to Rue of like, don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you. You can come out. Ugh. She must have been so
Oh.
scared. She's so she's such a baby.
Oh.
Ugh. And my younger cousin was like 11 at the time that these came out, and she kind of looks like Rue a little bit, especially when she was younger and she had like curlier hair and stuff. And um, so I was always like, oh my God, I can't.
Oh
It kills me
no.
every time I see her on screen because I always think about that.
Cute.
Um, but yeah, so it cuts to them quietly eating. They're just having their meal, and Katniss offers her, you know, her half of the food as well. And you're like, because what's like the one thing Katniss knows how to do is like provide food and to feed Prim, which is essentially what she's doing in this moment.
Yep.
So good. I love it. And I
I
love that Rue at
know.
first is like, no, it's okay. I don't need it.
Yeah, like yes you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, this is so short in the movie. It's very sweet in the movie. I love the book and how much it goes into like how they're
Hmm.
talking about the different districts and like actually discussing and how Katniss learns that District 11 has like is really strict.
Hmm.
You do anything wrong and you get, whipped or whatever. Or just shot straight up dead. Especially with
Yeah.
the night vision goggles. Um
Yeah.
yeah. So, it's such a beautiful conversation that I wish they could have put in the movie. Also, because I want more time with Rue. I get
Right.
like for pacing, that's probably a bad idea, but I don't know. It does make it kind of sweeter to have a longer conversation, to pause a little more on this moment.
Yeah. I wish it had been a little bit longer as well. Although reading the dialogue in the book, I'm like, Katniss, this is not how normal people talk to each other. She's like, oh, District 11, agriculture? You don't need food? And they're like, girl, she knows where she's from. You don't have to say any of that out loud.
It's like we as the reader
Like that's all
forgot,
for
so
our
please,
benefit.
Katniss, say it out
Yeah.
loud.
Yeah. But it is really interesting. And at one point, what I really wish had been in there as well is we haven't gotten a cut back to the game makers. I'm not going to say in a hot second because we've just been moving through it so slowly, but like we see the game makers quite a lot, and Katniss is thinking in this moment. She's like, I wonder if they would be blocking this conversation because they want to keep the knowledge about the other districts from each other as much as possible. So she's
Yeah.
like, they're probably not showing this on TV right now, which is kind of crazy because they really want to like keep all of that information as contained as possible, which is so important for things like Sunrise and the idea of propaganda. And obviously, we've been talking a lot about how propaganda even affects this book, let alone Sunrise on the Reaping, which is basically entirely about propaganda, right? like, um, and it's like, yeah, they probably would not have shown it. So I think it would have been interesting to see the cut to the game
Yeah.
makers and if they would have been like, oh, do we show this or not?
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been fun. Um Yeah, it's so funny too, because like, it shows the Capitals probably, if it happened, probably, like, their dedication to, the propaganda, because this is easily the most interesting thing that's happening in the arena
Oh, easily.
by far.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and she's just learning so much about like they don't go to school. She's like, no, everybody works during the harvest, right? Like we don't have
Well
school
well,
like
they
you
go to
guys
school
do.
outside of the harvest. They have a different
Well, yeah.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a different school system, which Katniss
Yeah.
finds interesting though, because one thing in District 12 is they don't make you work in the mines until you're 18. Like you have to go to school. It's like a mandatory thing until they're
Yeah.
18. Which is very different from clearly the way that they're treating District 11. And also on top of that, I know we haven't talked a lot about race and the castings and how all of that plays into it, but District 11 is the most heavily black community that they have in Panem as a
Yeah.
country, right? And so there's a lot to say about the over policing of District 11 and a lot to say about the over policing of the agriculture district, which affects their food supply, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much like it is the South in, you know,
Yeah.
with
And that's where it's
slavery.
located.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is not subtle.
Yeah. So it's interesting, and because I know we've kind of said we'll talk about it probably at some point, and we probably will. I think we'll maybe do a separate episode about it because Katniss is indigenous, is implied to be indigenous, right? Especially in the Appalachia area. And that's a lot of the reason she has so much connection to the land, right? And all of this other stuff.
Yeah.
That also is very relevant when we have these discussions about like revolution and rebellion and where does that come from and how do they try and tamp down on it. And it's also part of the reason I like that Cinna is played by Lenny Kravitz, a black man, right?
Hmm.
Because people have had theories that maybe he was once district. I don't necessarily think that holds water after we got Ballad. I don't think once Snow becomes president that that's a thing he would allow to happen as easily.
No, that's
Um,
only in the script when Gale. We
yeah,
should call it like a Gale 007 or something like
yeah,
that.
we can write our own version of it.
Gale 07. Yeah, I don't think there's any transition between the capital and the district unless you are peacekeepers.
Right, and that even then, it's like, well, you're a peacekeeper because you come from the capital.
Yeah.
They
And
don't
you'll
let
be there
district
for 4
people.
years and then you'll leave.
Yeah. Although District 2, I guess that's a good question. They train the peacekeepers there. I'm so curious about District 2 though. I've always been a little bit curious because they're the loyalist district, right? Like they're so loyal to the capital compared to every other district. Because they train the peacekeepers there. So I
Oh
wonder what the
yeah.
dynamics are like there.
That is
Um
that is a good call because I'm sure the peacekeepers come from District 2. So peacekeepers are likely district.
well, some of
Or at
them, but
least
like like
yeah.
Snow obviously gets sent as punishment to become a peacekeeper. Um that's probably where they recruit people from, but yeah, like your whole base can't be from recruiting within the capital, I would assume.
I would
Um,
no. There's
yeah.
like 50 people actually in the capital.
Yeah.
This whole machine is for like 10 people. You know?
Yeah. But it is also where oh, God, I'm terrible about remembering his name. But the guy in Ballad of Songbirds and Snake who's from District 2, the one
Oh,
that raises up, he's from District 2. I know you haven't
I
read it
read
yet.
I read that once. I have read it. I read it
Oh, okay.
once. I
Yeah.
can't remember a single.
Oh, God. I know people are going
Oh
to
wait,
tear me
no, I
apart for not
actually
remembering his
haven't read
names.
that.
No,
No,
I was going to say because you only saw the movie.
I've only seen the movie. Yes.
Yeah. But it's the guy, his friend or whatever. He's the one.
Yeah, yeah.
The district he comes from is District 2.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that if I were to ever get more from Suzanne Collins, I would just love to know how these different dynamics in the different districts work because it is really like, what about these ones in California? Like, what do those look like? Is there a more Latino heavy population when we get to the southwest portion of the districts, right? Like, I think that's kind of where District 4 is kind of generally over in that area. So like I would just be so interested to know if she ever
Yeah.
writes more about that kind of dynamic of what are their relationships with the peacekeepers because I know Katniss is basically like, oh, District 12 must be a safe haven, but I doubt that the peacekeepers are that strict in every district. Like it really is probably just District 11 that they're so heavily policed.
Yeah, and I assume that a lot of District 11's heavily policing comes from the fact that, like, it's probably pretty easy to just disappear from, relatively.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, I know it's fully fenced in, but, or at least I assume it is, but that's a huge amount of land.
Yeah.
Like, agriculture requires a lot of land.
Yeah.
So they have to crack down in order to keep everyone there.
Yeah. And the fact that she says that whippings are very common, just another pointing to the South.
It is.
But it must be harder to feel like they could run somewhere because District 12 is closer to Canada. So, like, they know that there are potentially people up north. Like, they talk about that. Katniss even is, like, reminded of when her and Gale talk about potentially running away, right?
Yeah.
But it's not something that I think that, like, District 11 can't go south. There's nothing else south. It's all water now.
Yeah, start swimming.
Yeah. So that always intrigues me is like the geopolitical kind of stuff that
Yeah.
carries over from the fact that this is a post-apocalyptic USA. Right. And I think that Suzanne gets a hard time. I don't necessarily think she's perfect in portraying all these kinds of dynamics, but I also think that for a young adult book, it's all in there, right? You just have to pick up on it
Yeah, and
if you're
she's
paying
also
attention.
writing with a very specific lens. Like what she wants out of this is not necessarily like it has some of the history of the US in it, but she is trying to not make like the most perfect analogy, but in a way that like makes the analogy clear. I don't know if that
Yeah.
was
If well, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. And if you want to hear more about like the breakdowns of the district and why they exist the way that they do, Dove makes, who I've talked about before, who talks about the capital being Salt Lake City, right? Also talks a lot about like District 12 and I forget what it's called, but she like knows a lot of the history of like foliage and like plants and like all this other stuff like in the US. I forget
Oh,
what the degree would be called. Now I can't remember. I feel bad. But
botany?
I guess but it's more like of a political scale.
Oh,
Um
ethnobotany?
like the death of like chestnuts and why that's important to like the way
Oh,
that District 12 and all these other places like develop in the US and things
cool.
like that. So she's gone through a couple of the districts but not all of them. But yeah, they also even talk about, people with disabilities. But like the kid that steals the night vision goggles is clearly somebody who's got some sort of learning disability because she's like he's older but he acts like he's 3, right? And Katniss brings up Greasy Say's granddaughter, who people kind of treat like a pet, but they'll like throw her scraps and things like that. And so she's like, and our peacekeepers would never just shoot that kid, but the peacekeepers in District 11 were like, yeah, we're killing that kid immediately.
Yeah.
Um, which I think shows a lot of difference there. And then in Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, we will get, I think her name is Dill, or no, one of the characters, right, has like Down syndrome, um, when she's in the arena. So it's interesting to also see that kind of stuff pop up in the writing so early on.
Interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah,
forgot about these little moments.
yeah,
But yeah,
um,
District 11 sounds like not a very good time. But they do
no,
get to sing while they work. So,
yeah. It's sweet because Rue is like, oh, her favorite thing in the world is music. And I'm like,
yeah.
I don't want to think about that either because we're almost there. It's so sad. Um, but it's interesting to hear her talk about the Mockingjays, and the reason she knew what to do with the Tracker Jacker stuff is because like they have a lot of Tracker Jacker nests that they have to work amongst. And it's like they don't just get rid of those. They got rid of all the ones around the capital, and they're like, nah, we'll just let our people die out here in
Nah,
these
it's
fields.
fine.
It's fine. Um, but then that the Mockingjay pen is also the reason she trusts Katniss, right?
Yeah.
So love that.
I love that Katniss goes, "Oh, you want it?" Like she's
Immediately is like,
constantly handing this out to kids. Like,
yeah. Which is great because the other thing that they give Rue here is because she knows all this like medicinal stuff, and Katniss is thinking like, oh, my mom would know which leaves to like use to pull the venom out, and then Rue knows. It's like, yeah, because Rue is just prim to you.
yeah.
I love that they make her a
Oh.
healer too. So in the movie, it's great because it just cuts straight to us seeing that Rue took care of her while she was knocked out for several days.
Yeah.
And so when they're talking, she's like, Katniss is like, how long was I asleep for? And she's like, oh, a couple days. I changed your leaves twice. And she's like, oh, thank you. And then they start talking about which tributes went down during that whole thing. And she goes, like, what about the boy from my district? And she goes, no, I think he's okay. He's down by the river, which is good foreshadowing for where we'll find him later, in the crazy makeup that he's in. But
Oh
then
my
I
god.
love I love that she looks at her and she goes, is that true about you and him? And just the look she gives Katniss, and like, oh my god, she's so
Oh,
adorable. I just love her so much.
so
Um,
cute.
and in the book, Katniss is like, oh no, that was probably just part of his act. And Rue is like, I don't think he was acting. Like, I think he's in love with you, girl. Which is so
Yeah.
funny.
I love that Katniss is clearly, she just explicitly says, oh yeah, no, that was just a strategy decided by him and our mentor. And Rue's like, no.
No, you're just stupid. But I love that Katniss, she just avoids, she just smiles and says, well, what about Cato and the others? Like, she's not going to answer that question because she
Nope.
knows that the cameras are on her. I was like kind of shocked, I guess, not shocked, but like rereading it, I was like, wow, she just throws that out in the open. She's like, that's fake. Girl, what are you doing?
Get it
They
together.
are probably showing this conversation. This conversation right
Yeah.
now is now normal, like, what are we doing? So yeah, it's basically she's talking about how they're all at the cornucopia, they have all the supplies, and Katniss says, that sounds tempting. And we essentially, that's the end of that scene. The deleted scene that we talked about last week would then go here in this spot, which is when they're sharing the sleeping bag and they're having this conversation. And I love that Katniss immediately tells her Prim's name, right? Because that's, again, she just holds on to names like they're everything because they are, but she freely gives that to Rue.
And she gives the full name.
Yeah, she gives both her
Primrose.
nickname and her full name. Yeah, which I noticed that too. I think that's so important. But then Rue doesn't want to let it go. She's just like, do you really like that boy from your district? Katniss is like, can't you ask me like literally any other question, girl? And she's like, no.
That's all I know about you.
Yeah. But the other thing that Rue does say is she's like, oh, that's the one you volunteered for. Like, she's like, so you know that she knows that that's how Katniss ended up here, right? But Katniss lets Rue know that she's like, well, I think I can't tell if it was the Tracker Jacker venom or I think PETA really, like, I think he might have saved me. And Rue says, no, they never make you see good things. I'm like, poor baby. And I think it's just a great moment from Jennifer Lawrence. Like, I wish the scene was still in the movie. I don't know why it's not. I wish it
Same.
was. Yeah.
I agree. And also because it would be great setup for Mockingjay, when PETA is hacked or whatever they call it. Because it's
hijacked,
like
yeah.
hijacked. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Because it sets up like it explicitly says, hey, this venom goes straight for your fear and will not show you anything good.
Yeah.
So that's why he reacts so badly, is nothing has gone well, like
Yeah.
in his mind.
I think it also just like really plays into, we've been doing this thing all movie, and we've talked about this a lot, about where we've been trying to build up, we don't think we can trust PETA, right? And this is the moment that Katniss is finally like, oh, he did save me. And we don't really get that in the movie when they cut the scene out, which,
Yeah.
again, I just will never understand. I don't know. Have you ever seen the Maze Runner movies?
Oh, long time ago.
I only recently watched them for the first time. I somehow never read those books, but I recently saw them because I love Thomas Brody Sanger, I think is his name. He's the one that's in that show I was talking to you about, The Artful Dodger. Oh. And so I recently watched them because he's in them. There's a deleted scene from like the last movie that I'm like, this gives so much context and it's only like 30 seconds long. And you basically, it's not like you cut out this set. You still have like the rest of the scene going on, but they take out all the context about like why he can't run well and like why he's so close with one of the other characters. And you're like, why? It was only like 30 extra seconds. I don't understand why it's a deleted scene, And
Yeah.
this has always made me think of that. So who knows why things get cut, but
yeah, who knows? I suspect it's because the conversation is a little repetitive with the mention of PETA, because it would be back to back. Oh, do you? Oh, do you? But also that's kind of accurate to their conversation.
Yeah, well, and also because Jennifer Lawrence has such a great moment here, because all of her acting is eye acting, and it's brilliant eye acting at that. And to see her realize it, I think is so good. But then we get as Katniss is having this revelation, she's like looking straight up, and Rue is looking at her from the side, right? And she's having this revelation that PETA saved her. Rue just is kind of like, I have a crush on a boy back home. She's like, I can't tell you his name out loud because she doesn't want the cameras to hear because poor Rue has to think about that. So they lift up the sleeping bag and she whispers the name to Katniss. And then they do the whole, okay, don't tell anybody, shh. And
Oh,
then she cuddles up and she sleeps in Katniss's arms. Maybe they were like, it's going to be too devastating when she dies in like 2 scenes. So we got
actually,
to cut
yeah.
that out. Maybe that's why.
I think because she settles against Rue, and you can see like Katniss actually relax for the first time ever, uh,
Mhm.
and I think that wouldn't help. I would say for
No.
Rue's death scene. Not that Rue's death scene isn't sad, but I don't think it would
Yeah.
make it better.
Well, I think too, though, it would have been important because in the book here, Katniss is like, but we're both like saying these things, but we also both know that only one of us can make it out. You
Hmm.
know, like this is again, it's just all gonna come down to that. Um,
Yeah.
so that's gonna suck.
Well,
Yeah,
luckily
and
that's next
it's
episode. So
yeah, and like that's what we were talking about too. Is like Katniss is kind of also slowly realizing like, oh, I can't hurt her. Oh
yeah,
no. You know, like, and this
I have to
is
keep her
what we were
safe.
talking about. She can't, this is why she shouldn't have an ally, because she would never, no, it's now Rue. And she was already thinking, like, I want Rue to win instead of PETA before she even met Rue properly. So, you know,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I think Rue should have won too, but
I know.
that's very selfish. And then no rebellion would have happened, and
No
then
rebellion. No, I don't think. And also, because do we already know at this point that Finnick is the youngest to have ever won? Or do we not find that out until Catching Fire? We might not find that
no,
out
we
until
haven't
Catching
even been
Fire.
introduced to the concept of victors.
Oh, that's
Well,
true.
I guess
Like
Haymitch,
how
but
they exist properly. Yeah.
yeah, we just
Because
saw Haymitch being drunk. So
yeah. Because Finnick being the youngest at 14, it's like I can't even imagine a 12-year-old having to live through this and then live the rest of their life this way.
no, I actually would not want to subject Rue to
No.
the victory tour and being a victor. I think
Yeah.
I think unfortunately she kind of went out as good as possible, but we'll talk about that
I
next.
know. I
Uh,
know. um but yeah,
oh,
because before that can happen, they're gonna enact their plan essentially. So then all of
yes,
the next chapter and this next portion of the scene is it takes up like an entire chapter of her like describing going to the cornucopia and like they like set out all of their supplies, they're like going through all of their food together, and she's like, wow, Rue's a really great ally. And Rue keeps being like, you really want me as your ally? And she's like, yeah, girl, sponsors are gonna start coming to you now that they can see that you're getting close to the end. And Rue's like, oh, okay.
yeah, it's we had this cute little Mockingjay scene where we're introduced really to like the Mockingjays proper instead of just as a pin. And I love that Rue, of course, introduces it and Katniss is familiar with. Um, in the book, Rue makes the safe sound, which is that do 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 do,
Mm-hmm.
and says like that means it's signal, it's time to go home, everyone's safe, let's do this. In the movie, Rue does a 4-note trill, and then Katniss follows it up with the do 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 do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which I think is fun, but I do wish it came from Rue in the movie.
Yeah, like as in the same sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's iconic, obviously. Everybody knows it. It's as iconic as the three finger salute becomes.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, I think it's a great scene that, like, it's interesting to me because when we get to the Mockingjay movies, because we never really come back to it in the books, right? But in the films, we will hear this sound all the time. They will use it for the propos. They will use it for everything. And in real life, they use it for the marketing to great effect
Yes.
constantly. It is like such an iconic 4-note thing. Um, so I kind of love that it's like we will at least continue to get it in the movies in a way that the books just can't give you because they're not going to describe every time like, oh, that's Rue's little 4-note thing. Like
Yeah,
Katniss
also
isn't thinking
like
about that when she's seeing it.
no, and books don't have motifs, like sound motifs.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I think this would probably be considered a leitmotif. Maybe not. That's really more part of the score, but like it consistently appears throughout the films. So,
yeah. Yeah. I just wish it came from Rue because I think an
yeah.
important thing about Katniss as a symbol is that she really she does a few things herself on accident, but a lot of her mythos comes from the people around her.
Yeah.
The Mockingjay pin come from someone else. The four notes comes from someone else. That sort of thing.
The three
It's
finger
all
salute comes from the district doing it to
yeah,
her first, and then she will remember it and use it for Rue. But
because she's a vessel for the community that wants to rise up.
yeah.
So I wish in the movie that it was from Rue, but
Yeah.
it's still I mean, it's a great four four series of
Yeah.
notes, so
It will always remind me of Rue, at least, even if it didn't come from her directly.
yeah.
Yeah. So they're basically going to set the traps, which is when they have this Mockingjay conversation. And it's interesting because we see just how far away Rue is. They are on completely opposite sides of the clearing. We will see later when she sets the fire. Um, but basically, Katniss goes in. She sees the cornucopia because their goal is to blow up all of their food because she's been trying to get information out of Rue all day. She's like, what's down there? And I do think it's really interesting in the book that she's constantly like, now they're going to have to know what it's like to be hungry because one disadvantage about being more well fed your whole life is that you are not built to be in this arena. You're going to go hungry a lot faster and they're not going to know how to find their own food. Um, and so constantly coming back to that theme of hunger, right? In the books, in a way that like it's gonna happen in the movie, that she blows up their food supply, but we don't necessarily get that reiterated in the same way.
Yeah, and I do also wonder, I mean, we don't get much of view of districts 1 and 2 and I think 4 or whatever the career
Hmm.
districts. I do suspect that they don't get quite as much food as Katniss thinks.
Yeah,
We're seeing the careers who are built up for these games. So they probably have eaten better because they need to like perform and enact and, like be in front of a crowd. They're crowd pleasers. Um, I suspect that the average person in these districts probably isn't quite as bad as District 12, but I don't think it's very good.
yeah, no, and I think that's she's kind of thinking along those lines of like they were training, so they were feeding them pretty well,
Yeah.
um, and the idea that like the biggest idea is going to be that they probably didn't train them as much on survival skills. Because in the book, she's talking about how the years in which their supplies get blown up or destroyed in some way are typically the years that you see people not of the career districts win. When they don't have access to that stuff and they have to go hungry like the rest of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
100%.
I think that's interesting. We see the
They probably
careers.
also oh,
Mm,
sorry. They probably also don't wanna train survival skills too much because then they could run away or something like that, like,
yeah.
there is a downside to that.
Yeah. They're like the only thing you need to know how to do is kill. Which also has its downsides if they decide they want to run. Then you train them to kill people. But,
Yeah.
especially District 2, again, like that's just skill sets you're teaching them in general because they're becoming peacekeepers potentially or training peacekeepers where it's all about
Mhm.
the law and order, right? Um, so again, that just leads me to being like, oh, I'm so intrigued how the relationships between the capital and the districts play out within the district themselves.
100%.
Yeah. Um, So we see the careers, they spot the smoke coming, and so they tell District 3 boy to stay there. And in the book, we find out why the District 3 boy is there, and it's because Katniss is realizing, like, oh, he's from, like, I don't know, what do they call it? Like, the tech. It's not really the tech district, but, like, they handle some technology and things like that. She's aware. And so he likely is the one who disabled the mines and then reassembles them as part of the booby traps. And that's why they keep him
Yeah.
around to be the guard because that kid looks like a twig. He does not look like he could do anything if anybody came. And they're like, in the book, they're talking about like, oh, when he comes, because they're expecting Thresh to attack them, who we saw on that layout that he's pretty close to the cornucopia. And they're like, you can take him out. I'm like, have you seen Thresh? No.
No.
Yeah.
Good try, though.
Yeah. But it's also where Katniss learns for sure that Peeta's not dead, because Cato is like, no, Lover Boy's not coming back. I know where I cut him. He should be dead any day now.
Poor
Yeah.
Peeta.
Poor Peeta. But yeah, so we just see him, this District 3 boy, hanging around the supplies. And then we get a cut to Caesar and Claudius, who are like, ooh, I want to see if she's going to figure out the booby trap. And then we get Foxface skipping her way in, just avoiding all of the landmines to steal some food. I love that they're like, oh, she seems to have figured it out. Guys, have you not been showing this for the last however many days we've been in the arena? Like, there's no way this is her first time doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But gotta love it, you know?
Yeah, I think Foxface should have on skill alone won this game because she is playing everyone like a fiddle. Like,
Yeah.
she knows she's getting food and then she's going and hiding. She's just running around watching everyone.
Yeah.
So if in a fair, just world, which these games would never exist in that, I think she should have won.
Yeah. Well, now what is District 5? What's their specialty?
I have no idea.
I know I'd have to look it up because I can't remember. Because District 8 is lumber. I'll have to look up District 5 because I'm curious. Because the only thing though is that by the end of the games, in the book, Katniss is like she's basically emaciated. Like she has not been eating well enough to
Yeah.
like get through this, and part of it is because they blew up the career's food, and that's what she was stealing from. But I'm curious because she doesn't seem to have many skills outside of her cleverness and her quickness.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to remember where she comes from. But yeah.
Yeah, because in the movie, I mean, obviously they can't like make this actress like starve
Oh
herself.
no,
Please don't
she
do
still
that.
looks
But
healthy enough.
yeah, in the movie, it's like, oh yeah, this woman's like conquering this whole arena.
Yeah. Yes, it does look like that for sure. But then we see Katniss looking around, trying to see something, and she sees the netted bag of apples, very conveniently placed. And I love the scenes when she's shooting, how quiet it gets and her focus. She doesn't miss on the first shot. She just doesn't fully split open the bag on the first shot. And then on the second shot, she manages to split it open. And in that slow-mo, interesting shot, it falls down and then the huge explosion, which we'll get more into next episode. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I will
it
say
is. Mhm.
the shaky cam in this section really kind of annoyed me. I understand the purpose; it's supposed to be her point of view, but oh my god, I was like, oh, focus, we're going
Yep.
everywhere.
Yep. But it's exactly how the chapter ends as well, is the apples fall and she gets blown backwards. So it's interesting how long this chapter is for how short it feels in the movie, because she's describing what's happening at the cornucopia in so much detail for us the reader, but you don't really need to do that in the movie because we can just see it all. So
Yeah.
we don't need 2 pages of description about the mines and all of this other stuff. Like we can just watch it and we know that it's there.
Yeah.
So it feels like, oh, there must have been way more in the book. And it's like, not really. Like, there was a lot more Rue in the book, just in terms of the conversations that they had and things like that. But in terms of this specific beginning of the scene at the cornucopia, not really.
No. Oh, I wish we had more room. I always want more room.
Yeah. But again, I think it would have just made it hurt so much more.
I think so, but I'm willing to take that.
Yeah, maybe it could have benefited. Yeah. But I also love that it's like it shows how much Katniss can fall in love with this little girl who reminds her of Prim so quickly. It's like,
So
man,
fast.
girl, you think you have armor and you've got your walls up? No, 0%, no chance. You wear your heart on your goddamn sleeve. Like, there's no chance this girl wasn't crawling straight into your heart, you know?
Oh yeah, no, she saw her on a branch once and then saw her after waking up having the worst trip ever and was like, yes, I shall take on this kid and we shall
Yeah.
go to the final. Like,
Oh, because that's what I wanted to read was when she's thinking about like Prim. I mean, she thinks about Prim a lot, but um, I'm like flipping through, but I'm still in the dark on what motivated Peta to betray the careers. Girl, Rue already told you. But this is when they separate before they go and like enact their plan to like lure out the careers and stuff. But she says, I turn and head back to the stream, feeling somehow worried about Rue being killed, about Rue not being killed, and the two of us being left for last, about leaving Rue alone, about leaving Prim alone back home. No. Prim has my mother and Gail, and a baker who has promised she won't go hungry. Rue has only me. And it's like, again, this is the moment where you're like, oh yeah, because if they make it to the last two, that again, that's it for Katniss.
That's
There's
that.
no coming out of that.
No,
she's and not she knows it. Yeah. So poor Rue. We're like in anticipatory grief.
I know.
Over next week. I'm not looking forward to it.
It's fine.
But, yeah. Anything else as we wrap up these two chapters before we really get into some more action? And then we're running through the games, it feels like, in comparison.
Yeah, we're sprinting towards the end. I think we're gonna slow down with some of the PETA stuff, but other than that, it kind of feels like we're near the finale. You know,
I know.
There's so many things happening.
Yeah.
But
like
yeah,
we're about
I'm not
to
excited
enter
for
Act
next.
3.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm not excited for next episode, but I am.
Yeah.
But it's been a good games.
Fun times.
I say sadly.
So yeah, join us again next week as we cry, probably, about Rue.
Group cry.
Group cry all together. It'll be cathartic. It'll be good.
Yeah.
Because some of the choices they make are going to be so interesting, and I think Jennifer Lawrence just delivers such a great performance. So good, some of the choices they make. And we talked a lot about District 11 in this chapter, right, in the book. And we obviously didn't get a lot. We didn't get anything in the movie. But that's because we're going to get such an incredible District 11 scene in the movie later after Rue's death. So I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. That'll be interesting to compare. Yeah. So yeah, we will we hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we hope you maybe don't enjoy next episode, but again, allow that cathartic release as we talk about Rue.
Look, sometimes you watch Superman and sometimes you watch Hamnet.
Two very different vibes.
Amazing.
All right.
Well, thank you very much for listening.
And next week. Bye-bye.
Adios.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's
easy peasy.